Ring ring! It's time for another episode of Crossplay Conversations, the show where we dive deep into the world of video games while keeping it light. I'm your host, Luke Lewis, and today I am joined by the sneaker savant, Joseph Hooper.
Whoa, look how bad my posture is. Look how I actually sit in the chair. Isn't that wild? What's wrong with me?
And rounding out our trio, it's the Wii U Wonder Kid with an interesting wardrobe choice, Jacob McCourt.
Hi, I have a bag on my head. Joseph, you're going to get scoliosis if you don't be careful.
I sure will. I sure will, my friend.
Off to a riveting start for what I'm sure is going to be a thrilling podcast. We're doing our mid-year check-in, game of the year so far for the year 2024. Lots of games have come out, and we've played them, but there's a lot we haven't gotten to. So we're going to dig into both our favorites of the year. We're going to talk about our backlog and what we haven't played yet, and also throw you some recos for maybe games that you forgot came out this year that did in fact come out in our year 2024. But let's kick things off with our icebreaker question. I'm curious for y'all, how is 2024 doing compared to 2023 in terms of quality and quantity of games? 2023 was a big year. How are we feeling about this year so far? You want to kick us off, Joseph?
Listen, all right? Listen. 2024 has been a decent year, I'll say. It's been a decent year. It's kind of like, 2024, 2023 Lakers squad. When you really look at everybody on the roster, they're not really making a championship run. But you got LeBron on the team, so you can never count him out. We got an Elden Ring release this year, so you can't really count out 2024. That being said, looking back, it kind of feels a little drier than it felt getting to this point. I think partially we got to stop with the 100-something hour games, all right? I played Final Fantasy Rebirth for forever, and that took away probably 4 or 5 other games I could have played. All right, so now I'm looking back on my time and being like, why did I do that? It was a great game. Don't get me wrong. A little too long, but we'll get into that later. Will we? I actually don't know if we will, but anyway.
No, I'm going to get into it right now. When I answer the question, as someone who's 60 hours into Rebirth and texted a friend of mine and said, hey, when is Rebirth over? Because I'm ready. I'm chapter 13, so I'm assuming I've got maybe 5 to 8 hours left.
Yeah.
But I think, Joseph, to your point, it is 50 hours good. It is not 70, 80, 100 hours good. It's just, I'm tired of these huge, bloated AAA experiences that just double the amount of content just so people feel better about buying them. People who are not talking on a podcast about video games. The average Joe, if you will, that I don't know any of. My friends aren't average Joe gamers. What's up?
I'm literally Joe. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah,
literally Joe.
But you ain't average, boy.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, this is a B year. This is a B year. I'm fine with it. It's not last year. It's not a top year, but it's fine. I'm whelmed. Luke, you whelmed?
I'm enjoying this year. If every year was a 2023 year, I think we would just be so exhausted, because last year just felt like hit after hit after hit. You could never keep up. And I think there are fewer titles I'm absolutely over the moon about, but the ones that I am excited about, I really love. So I have like a handful of games that I'm incredibly in love with from this year. But overall, yeah, I would say I think whelmed is a good word, despite the high quality releases. But that said, there are a lot of, especially indies, that I have yet to play. So I feel like had I played everything, to our point about sticking to these longer games, like I've played a bunch of Rebirth, I've played a bunch of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth this year, haven't finished either. So I think that's kind of representative of like my gaming this year. It's just felt very scattered and unfocused because I'm trying to kind of test the waters everywhere, and maybe that's not the best approach, but we'll get into that a little bit more. Awesome.
Love.
All right, so we're going to break down, essentially we have 3 categories for the rest of the show. We're going to talk about each of our top 3 favorite games of the year so far. We're going to give you 3 recommendations for games that maybe you haven't heard of or you forgot came out this year, and then we'll close things out with 3 games that either are in our backlog from this year that we have yet to play, or we're excited that are coming out slated for later this year. So digging into things, let's start with our favorite games of the year. We'll do round robin style, go around the horn. Jacob, what's your first game that you want to highlight tonight?
So I think we're all going to talk about this video game, but I'd be remiss to not talk about the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room that is Balatro.
Let's go.
Balatro is a fucking good video game. Let's just not mince words. That's my game of the year so far.
It's definitely up there for me as well in terms of time, in terms of pure enjoyment. And there's something about it, just a great like lightning in a bottle story, you know, where word of mouth takes hold of the industry in a positive way, and everyone's just excited about a good video game, and that's what I felt with Balatro. Yeah, can't get enough of that one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I feel like Balatro, I mean, it's on my list, it's on Luke's list, it's on Jacob's list, obviously. This game has a very good chance of taking it away at the end of the year, just because it is kind of one of those, everybody's on the same page, this is just a good game type game, right? I think my favorite thing about it is it doesn't get in the way of itself at all. It's kind of like, hey, here's this like poker-esque card hand game, and this is all it is, and here's some weird jokers, and just have fun, and we'll give you roguelike elements, and there's not a, you know, forced in story to make it awkward or drawn out, or, you know, random mechanics that nobody's using. It just feels like just right, Goldilocks style. So I can see this game, I mean, obviously it's still in people's minds halfway through the year. I do think this is probably going to be on the end of a lot of game of the year conversations by the end of the year.
Yeah.
It's a game ass video game, to your point. It is like, it tells you exactly what it is. The surprises are just in gameplay mechanics and jokers. I bought this thing on 3 consoles because I'm an idiot. I got a code on PC, I bought it on Switch, and then I bought the physical edition that's coming out on Xbox. So I guess that just shows you how I'm feeling about Balatro.
I also just think it speaks to the quality and staying power of the game, the fact that they took an established genre of the roguelite, very oversaturated market, and did something new and compelling with it. So I definitely really appreciated that. Follow-up Balatro question for y'all. Is there a world where we see this nominated for Game of the Year at Keeley's Game Awards? Can a game like this make it just based on sheer crowd force? Because I feel like even among the Games Journo scene nominating games, it was a smash hit and everybody loved it.
Sorry, are we talking about the real Game Awards or the Game Awards? You have to actually distinguish.
The Jeff Keighley hosted event, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm,
Thank you. Thank you. I think if Stray can do it, Balatro can do it.
Yeah,
I know they're
I'm
different
not saying
games,
it's
but they
going
have
to
similar
win,
budgets.
because like we said, we have other games this year. Elden Ring is a thing, but like I could see it being one of the 5.
How many?
I think,
it's 5,
right? 5 or 6? Yeah.
5 or 6.
I think it's going to be right on the cusp. Because if I think about it, you got Helldivers 2, which I feel like is damn near like, I don't know, the recent controversy with the PSN thing might have like taken away some of the steam. I don't know if it'll still be there at the end of the year, but I'm assuming Helldivers 2 is going to be on there. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, I feel is like a, you know, standard lock in pretty much every universe. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, because of the big name on it, is going to make it. I'm thinking Dragon Age, Yakuza, maybe. People don't really love Yakuza.
Dragon Age, really?
I mean, it's the big fall title.
On Dragon Age right now.
So
it's
like, if that's the, like, what other title is coming out in the fall to even take any mind share? Like, I mean, the game could just be bad, and just the whole fall could be bad, but
there's some indies that we're going to get into later in the show that I could see sliding in. But yeah, the things you've mentioned, I think, are like the big contenders.
Hades 2, if it actually comes out this calendar year.
I don't think it is.
I think they've already said it's not.
No way it comes out. Yeah.
At least in terms of
Elden
like
Ring
1.0.
Is Elden Ring eligible because it's DLC?
I would think
Did Phantom Liberty get nominated last year, or was it not Game of the Year?
I think Phantom Liberty did get nominated.
Not for Game of
Elden
the Year,
Ring,
but definitely for other categories.
Not for Game of the Year.
If Elden Ring can get nominated, every other game is going to have That's an uphill battle to fight, but
It got nominated for best narrative, which in my mind is like a top a
yeah,
top prize.
I mean, so it's probably eligible. So yeah, I mean, Balatro, 100%, I can see being in the top
just
5.
be so cool.
It'll probably be on that 4 or 5 slot.
I just think
love
that'd be really fun.
I would love it.
Even if it doesn't win, it would just be like, I think, validating for a game of this ilk.
Oh, trust me, Luke. I think the millions of dollars in his bank account is validation enough for this one single man that pulled off this feat. You know what? The Balatro guy and the dude that made Chained Echoes, get them into a room. They'll make magic, all right? Because those are the two one person developer duos that I'm like, and Billy Basso, throw him in that room too. Like, what are these one developer teams smoking over there to be making these?
What if they did a
project
that was like that upcoming Kojima game that he's doing with Jordan Peele and other collaborators, amazing. Where it's like indie Avengers jam sesh.
But to make it successful, they all have to like develop within a siloed box because they get their talents from working alone. So it's a collaborative project, but they're still all alone somehow. Okay. Yeah, we need to make that happen.
Right. We'll work on that.
Are we developing the metaverse of indies?
We'll work on that
maybe
after the show. That's a bigger project to tackle.
I see you.
But continuing on, Joseph, I want to hear about Elden Ring. I haven't talked to you at all about Elden Ring. Shadow of the Erd Tree over here. How you doing? How far are you? What's the vibe? Tell me everything.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty much at the end of the game. Okay. Like I'm hunting down Mikola, and I think I'm right on that little guy's tail. All right, so the DLC is goated. What can I say? It's the best DLC I've ever played. It is just Elden Ring. It's just more Elden Ring. Like it's 30, 40 more hours of Elden Ring, which is crazy. 40 more hours of one of the greatest games of all time. What are we doing here? It's amazing. Now, the game is not without its drawbacks. I would give Elden Ring like a 10 out of 10. I would give this DLC a 9 out of 10. Particularly the exploration, the map is all great. It's just like the first game, but the rewards you get for like looking in those nooks and crannies are not nearly as good as the base game. So that's kind of like my one drawback. And my second drawback is the camera completely fucked. Like you're fighting these bosses that are taken off out of the arena. They're going all around the world like Charizard in that one episode of Pokemon. And like the lock-on's just completely fucked. I'm dying hundreds of times, not to any skill issue of my own, right? Because I'm good at the game. I've got the remembrances to prove it. But the camera's completely fucked. So we need to figure that out. Other than that, go to game. Game of the year so far for me, without a doubt.
Where do you fall on this whole difficulty conversation?
So far, I've only encountered 2 bosses. They were back to back. Literally, you fight this one boss, and then you walk 10 feet and you fight a second boss. Completely broken in terms of these are the 2 bosses that have the camera issues, where I was just so frustrated, and it took me a complete day to fight those 2 bosses. Other than that, all the other bosses are just about as difficult as any regular Elden Ring boss. I don't think it's an issue. I have not fought the final boss, which I hear is like the hardest boss in any Souls game to date. So I'll come back on a later episode and talk about that.
Would it be an appropriate time to say good?
I mean, I'm as good as it can get, baby boy. Also, I would like to note I'm playing on hard mode because my PS5 controller has stick drift. So if I push the left stick perfectly right, my character moves left. So I can never actually push the left stick.
That's what you mean by hard
sweet
mode.
Spot.
Your controller is not functioning, therefore. Okay,
so I'm fighting a boss. I'm trying to run right, and all of a sudden my character starts juking like it's Madden 25 and trying to go left because of this stick drift on my PS5 controller. So all I'm saying is, I'm playing with I don't know. I'm playing with hard mode on, unintentionally. So
damn. Okay, I'm impressed. Boss wise, like quality wise, how do things compare to the base game? Is the explorable world like what's the scope of this?
10 out of 10. All of that's 10 out of 10. All great environments. A lot of weird fuckery going on. There's one level where like you ride your horse into the area and you get like a little notification on your screen and you're just like, oh no, what are we doing here? Come on, Elden Ring devs, why are we doing this? So there's a lot of those moments where you're just like, you tricky little guys over there, you tricky little devs. It's fun.
Nice.
I love it. Don't, like I said, the only complaint is I, go down side path A, side path B, and I find a cookbook every fucking time. I'm tired of these cookbooks. I never use them in the base game, and I found probably 20 cookbooks in the DLC. It's not okay. That's the one part where I'm like, we got to stop this.
Fair enough. I definitely want to get to it at some point this year in terms of scratching that open world, open-ended design itch. I think I definitely would enjoy myself. It came up in conversation
highly recommend.
Recently with friends of the show, Mike Towndrow and Kyle Stevenson, and they were talking about like going into an area and finding multiple exits that led to different areas and laying down in a coffin and being teleported other places and all that shit. And it's just like, I love all that nonsense. Like anything that makes me want to like text a friend and be like, wait, this happened when I did this. Have you tried the water cooler conversations? I think are always awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Bringing it back around to me. I want to talk about a Metroidvania because this is the year of the Metroidvania resurgence. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, y'all. This is the best Ubisoft game I've played in years. I absolutely love it. The art style is dope. The combat is fun and layered. The traversal is wonderful. It has some of the best quality of life elements to navigating the world in a Souls-like.
You can put stamps on the map and shit, right?
Put photos.
Literal, so you're playing,
baby.
You can take a screenshot of what you're looking at and then tag places in the map with your screenshot. So it's super easy to remember, like, why couldn't I get past this door? What was going on here? And so then when you get new abilities, you can immediately go back. There's fast travel systems. Like, it's such a smooth experience. And as someone who loves Metroidvanias, I do get frustrated having to tread back through big environments or forgetting where I need to go next or what I've done previously. Like, this game is just so smooth to play, and it's a Metroidvania that wants you to finish it, that wants you to get to that next area, that next cool thing. And I also thought the story was really cool, the moment to moment. Combat's dope.
Good?
Combat's really, really
amazing.
fun. Yeah. And we played a demo back at PAX, and it was like, oh, this is pretty solid. I think this could be cool. But as soon as I got an hour plus in, it was like, there's so much here, and there's layered abilities and the way you're using them. And it felt like I haven't had a like really satisfying platformer experience in a hot minute. And this really scratches that itch. Obviously the Rayman Legends team being on this is like very apparent in these like awesome, wall running, jumping, sliding, using your celestial bow to take down vine elements, and you're jumping through things, and like timing is so key that it's like it's super satisfying. And I never found it frustrating because of those quality of life aspects, but like it's such a good game. It's on sale right now. I saw for like $24 if folks haven't played it. It's available on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. I think it'd be a great portable experience if folks want to play it there. I've heard it runs great on Switch. I played it on Xbox. Can't recommend it enough. I feel like I'm like on trial, like convincing you that the murderer did it, but like very good game.
Guilty.
Really great time. This is one that came out in January that I really hope folks don't forget because it's really, really dope.
Does it have weird Ubisoft Uconnect stuff on PC though?
Yes.
Is it not on Steam?
It is on Steam.
Yes.
It came to Steam.
It's on Steam?
Yeah, it's on Steam now. It didn't come
recently,
at launch. I believe it came within the last, I want to say, month or two. I might be wrong on that, but I know it's currently on Steam.
It is launching on Steam on August 8th.
Okay. Stand corrected. Coming to
Look
Steam.
Look at Luke out here
year.
giving false information.
I was
coming
close.
to Steam.
I saw an ad or something. Anyway, never mind.
Let me tell you all that I've never been so proud that I have a computer science degree when I try to get this shit running on my Steam Deck, all right? Because it took me hours, all right? I had to download this launcher. I had to download the Epic's Game Store. And then you got to download some Ubisoft Connect supporter within the Epic Game Store. I'm like, we got to stop this, all right? We can't have launchers within launchers within launchers, all right? Ubisoft, Epic, figure it out, All right, we can't be doing. I can't be doing all this hack into the mainframe stuff just to play damn Prince of Persia, which I bought. All right. That being said, I did play like an hour of it. Luke, everything you said, absolutely true. I love the parkour movement around the maps. The combat so far is very fun. It is not an easy game. Like, you actually have to be thinking and, think about your combos and be wary of the slide versus the parry and all that good stuff. Fantastic. And you got little super moves too that you can do when you get all charged up. You get your blue meter filled up. You're doing all these different super moves that you can equip. Very fun.
Hell yeah. All right, coming back around to you, Jacob. What's your next game?
We were talking earlier about games that you're, going to hit the group chat with to get more information about it. My game that fits that mold is Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. I think I saw it on one of your lists of something you need to play later, Joseph. By Samogo, who's done some sick games, Device 6, Year Walk, Sayonara Wild Hearts. Loved all of those games. And I thought this game would be too hard for my little pea brain. So I was telling my partner and her twin brother about it. And so for maybe about 2 weeks, a couple nights a week, the three of us would just, hang out in front of the TV. I bought it on, I think I bought it on Steam Deck, and just for 3 or 4 hours every night, we would just get out the notebook, sit in front of the TV, and just try and knock these puzzles out. And it was great because we had different skill sets. I had the math brain. One of us had like the orientation brain, where we could just like move things in our minds. And it really we made a powerful team to take down what is essentially an escape room that you have to solve a bunch of puzzles to get through. But what surprised me most was the story, because I didn't think that there was going to be a compelling story when I saw it on its face, but realized that once you're reading journal entries and, watching stuff and really digging in, the ending is incredibly satisfying. So if you've seen it and you're like, there's a story payoff too. Are y'all, Josephs, I know that you're interested in playing this one. Have you started it, or you're just curious about it?
I've actually started it. I'm actually a couple hours in, which is why I'm hearing you say there's a story path. I'm like, wow, that's news to me, because I have no clue what's going on. I just recently picked up a phone, gave somebody some directions, and now now we're opening it up until I really don't know what's going on. I'm completely lost. So I had to put it down, unfortunately, to play Elden Ring, because that's a full-time or a part-time job essentially.
Yep.
But I'm gonna absolutely get back to this. I've been enjoying it. It definitely has the types of puzzles that are gonna be a little more challenging for me. Whereas I got to find this numerical pattern. All right, it's gonna take me a minute. Whereas I'm playing Tunic or Death's Door, and I'm just thinking in gamer puzzles, which is easy for me at this point. So this is a really cool game in that it does try and expose you to, like you said, the more escape room-esque challenges, which I feel like a lot of games don't do. I'm very curious to see how it all wraps up, for sure.
I'm just trying to see what my hour count was. I think it was 20 or 23 hours.
100%?
So 99 or something like that.
Basically.
We pretty much went through it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we crushed it.
That's
I enjoyed
awesome.
it a lot. Big surprise for me, because not typically the game I gravitate towards. Because your boy's a dummy.
This one's definitely on my radar. I'm curious, did you feel like one thing with puzzle games I feel like that's always tricky is the pathing to show you what you can do. Is it clear what your options are in a given scenario? Is it frustrating at any point? What's the kind of ratio of I'm having fun figuring this out versus what the fuck is going on?
I would say there's enough, and you can sort of just wander, and there are sections that are going to be cornered off or sort of blocked off until you get the thing that you need to go through it. But I would say for the first third of the game, we ran into no resistance. We just sort of wandered and found new things to solve. And if we couldn't solve it, we would leave to do something else.
Nice.
But I would say there's probably a couple of junctures in the game where it's
That's
cool,
fair.
you really have to start doing this. But that only happened 2 or 3 times.
And the art style is also really sick too.
Yeah.
Black and white and red. Like a bloody newspaper.
I played
it for 22.6 hours and highly recommend.
What's black and white and red all over Lorelei?
Yeah.
Lorelei.
Got him. Joseph, what's next for you, buddy?
Let's go ahead and shout out Animal Well.
Let's go.
If Elden Ring wasn't a thing, Animal Well would probably be trending as my number one game of the year. It was just a fantastic experience. I love games where you have to like learn the game, learn the world of the game to be able to progress and to kind of truly know what you're doing. No instructions, no dialogue, none of that. Just like, hey, explore, find out, and like evolve your understanding of what's actually happening. Uh, and the map is so dense. There's literally secrets on every little pixel of the map, which is incredible. So incredible that I had to find all 64 eggs in the game, which was, it felt like part two of Animal Well. It like felt like, okay, I saw the credits and then that was okay. Tutorial over, essentially. Level one over. I find all these eggs and it felt like, oh shit, there's so much more game that I'm seeing that I almost feel bad that a lot of people probably will never see. Which I love games like that. I love games where they put a lot of time into shit people won't see because that makes me feel so much more special for seeing it. So I can't recommend Animal Well enough. Amanda's playing it right now, which just goes to show you how much I love this, that I would give this to her and have her trudge through it. So highly recommend Animal Well. Another one-person team, by the way, Billy Basso.
Big Mo Games.
Big Mo Games.
Didn't you say you had some experiences in there where there were eggs that you found that blew your mind or some shit?
Yeah, absolutely. There were hidden items and hidden little secrets where like you're just banging your head on the wall and then something just clicks and you're like, holy shit, I didn't even know the game worked in this type of way. Like, this is incredible. Very similar to like, I feel like how I hear people talk about Metal Gear Solid where, you know, some shit just happens and it just breaks their brain from a moment where you're like, oh, I didn't realize the game was going to go here. Probably not to those extremes. I'm over here throwing out games I've never played. So I need to.
What?
I mean, I've never played Metal Gear Solid. Is that surprising?
Any of them?
No. I didn't have a PS3 and PS2 I wasn't thinking about. I was thinking about Tack and the Power of Juju or whatever games were coming out back then.
I played that too. I mean? I also haven't played Metal Gear Solid, so the internet can be angry at us together. I played.
There we go.
Boys, excuse me?
What are you gonna do?
I might get the remaster, the remake, or whatever.
Animal Well, though, and
there you go.
This game is fucking incredible. You're 100% right.
Yes.
The only thing I'll add is just that I love a game that can almost create its own language and methodology, and I think this game does that really wonderfully. And the fact that if I told you, Jacob, the items that you acquire in this game, you would have no idea what you do with those items. And in context,
there's a yo-yo, right?
There's a yo-yo. Like, for example, there's a yo-yo, there's a firecracker, there's a slinky. But the way the game teaches you to use those items and experiment with those items, I think is really, really special. And the fact that they didn't just go for like, it's a key. Like, sure, there's keys, but there's like it's so layered in a really interesting way that I really dug. So yeah, Animals definitely on my top 10 this year. I didn't include it in my picks tonight just for variety's sake, but 100% up there. Great game.
Didn't Billy Basso make the engine for this game too?
He
and
did.
It's got
Wild
like insane
person.
frame rates on PC.
Yeah. This dude is like a coding wizard. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's back to me. Yeah, I was going to say, Luke. Where are we at right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about another one that I think I'm the only one that's played, or Jacob, you might have dabbled in this one, but Helldivers 2. I love it. Democracy, you got to protect it. It's out there. Though for me, Helldivers just is the LAN party with your friends vibe times infinity. It's so much fun to play. I think the multiplayer works quite well. I love the community that it's built in terms of groups playing together that are all contributing to this global goal that you can keep track of. And I think they've done a really great job with community support for this game and different weekly challenges and just keeping the grind interesting to go back and keep playing. I played a bunch of this with friend of the show, Adam Gumbert, and every time we had a blast. I felt like I was back in high school playing Halo late at night, and it just hit on all of those notes. And over the years, I've played things like Earth Defense Force and, games that are about big, dumb fun. And I just think this is like the highest version of that and it really caught me off guard. I enjoyed the first Helldivers, but this just making the jump to a third-person action game, it took the world by storm in a way that a lot of people weren't expecting, and it's still one that anytime a friend hits me up to play, I'm totally down and enjoy it every single time, and constantly unlocking new weapons and cosmetics, and in this world of games as a service games that I think do it wrong. I think Helldivers does it truly right. $40, and I've put probably like 30-40 hours into the game, you know what I mean, and no signs of stopping. It's not something I play like every day or every weekend, but every couple weeks I jump in for a couple hours and have a blast, and always like coming back to it. It's also really funny, which is an important thing to note. Like, it's just big, dumb, hilarious fun with your friends.
Did you buy it on PC or PS5?
PS5.
PS5. Well, we should play because I have it on PS5 and I've maybe
we
put
should
like
play.
2
Friend of the
hours
show,
into it.
Adam Gumbert, you're probably listening to this. Message us and remind us that we said we should play.
Yeah, it just, again, going from the top-down shooter that it was in Helldivers 1 to this Helldivers 2 experience, I probably put 2 or 3 hours in, and I was like, yeah, this seems very fun. We'll have to hit up Gumbert and play some more, especially as we move into the end of the year and have to remember Helldivers 2 is one of the
And
top
I will
games of the year.
say, I tried playing a bit by myself, wasn't as into it, but I played with Adam, and he had already played a bunch by the time I jumped in with him, so he kind of shepherded me through the experience. It took me on specific missions, and he was like dropping waypoints and telling me what to do. And there's a lot of just like fun strategy in the game of like you're calling down like orbital strikes and all this stuff on giant monsters, and so coordinating with your buddies of like, okay, there's the giant end boss at the end of this level, let's all call down our orbital strike at the same time, and then you coordinate it, and you're literally doing like fighting game D-pad inputs, up down down at the same time, and you're like screaming at each other, and then you call it in, and it's this like unscripted, amazing cinematic moment that you all have. So there's a lot of just like fun organic stories like that come out of it that I think really elevate it.
And the dev also messages outside the game, and like people will go on Twitter and be like, what's this new faction? And they say, we don't know. So there's a fun like meta layer to
they're
it, right?
crushing the community aspect to it. I forget what the person's exact job title is, but think like Hunger Games game maker essentially, but for Helldivers, and they're like orchestrating these like live service events that have ramifications where like they introduced these crazy flying bugs, and everyone in the community was like, what the fuck are these? And they were like, there are no flying bugs, we have no idea what you're talking about. Or like they're teasing like vehicle stuff, and like it's a lot of fun. They're having fun with it.
Weren't players just getting sniped out of like thin air?
Yeah, it's like what is
what
happening?
happened?
Just little mysterious things that are, it's like, ooh, I gotta keep playing because I want to know what's happening. Or they'll be like, we're about to lose this week's daily objective, everybody has to log on tonight to play. And so then you get your squad, and it's a fun like motivator that doesn't feel like schmarmy. It's not like go play and grind to unlock Fortnite skin. Granted, I like Fortnite, so it's a bad example, but like it's like this positive thing of like, let's win this challenge so then we all get the XP bonus and have this positive experience. So I think that's kind of cool.
Because they already got $40 out of you, right? So
yeah,
like, they're not...
you're playing just to keep the game alive at this point, you know. So
until Sony inevitably tells them, hey, you need to get more money from this, and they have to, put an expansion out or whatever. But we're not being negative
there are
yet.
paid cosmetics and different things, but it's not forced on, you know what I mean? And you can grind to get it for $0. So yeah, I think they're handling all that stuff really well. We won't get into the whole PlayStation agreement debacle. They got it figured out in the end. The messaging wasn't great, but oh well, the game is still very fun. Alrighty, back to Jacob.
This is our last game, I think, on
of our
the list.
favorites.
Yeah, because we all picked Balatro and then had 2 separate picks after that. So I'm going to talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It is one that I complained about at the outset, but I think only in girth. It's a good game.
Interesting.
It just is way too long. I'm enjoying the combat a whole lot. That is why you come to a Final Fantasy VII game, because the combat, at least in the remade trilogy, is just phenomenal. The story is fine. There are times in the middle of it where I just sort of forgot exactly what I was doing because I've been playing it for so long. But the minute to minute is fun. The combat is fun. upgrading your weapons. It is also like a Ubisoft game, basically, with towers and side quests. And I'm not going to engage with all of it, but I think it is cool to see some of that in the game and to traverse and travel into some very different environments instead of just Midgar that we got in the first one. I'm enjoying it. I know for a fact it will be on my top 10 list, but it will be near the bottom. Any game that I spend 70 hours with and enjoy will probably be on my top 10 list, but it'll be like 8, 9, 10, just because I think it's too much game. What I hope they do for the third game is make it 30% shorter and just the core stuff with fewer side missions. I feel like I said that about Final Fantasy 16 too, but do your thing, Square.
Yeah, I think I'm the fewest hours into Rebirth of all of us, because Joseph, I know you beat it. I'm only like 20 or so hours in, because I bounced off to Dragon's Dogma and some other stuff when it first came out. I really like it, but I think the open worlds, it really suffers for a lot of the side stuff. And it's a game where like I love the characters and the universe so much that I like convince myself I need to do everything to see every little tidbit, but it's a game that's like better if I don't. If I'm just like do main story, do any side stuff that sounds interesting or fun, but don't like kind of it's the ice cream of video games. Don't overindulge. Just have a nice bowl of ice cream and enjoy yourself and call it a day.
Good way to think about it. Did Joseph have too much ice cream? Is that why he cranky?
Yeah, I'm a little cranky. I mean, honestly, the game is great.
Totally.
There's a lot of moments I love it. The game is at its greatest, in my opinion, when it's just being super goofy, like when you're on the Air Force Base. That's like one of my favorite levels, and I'll remember that for a long time. But unfortunately, the game just does not really respect your time, especially when you get into those Ubisofty elements. Surprisingly enough, I do think that they do the actual side quests pretty well, the ones that have the actual exclamation point or whatever. Especially when you compare it to Final Fantasy 16, which when talk about a game that doesn't respect your time in the side content, holy shit. But, Rebirth is fun. Even the little card game, I played through that whole quest line.
Oh, Queen's Blood,
and, like,
let's go.
When you finish Queen's Blood, that was complete and epic and fantastic. So, there's a lot of good to say about Rebirth. I think I'm just in the same camp as Jacob. It'll probably be on the lower end of my end of the year list, but I'm sure it'll make it there.
Yeah, definitely agreed. Okay, I think, and then Joseph, your other pick was also Balatro, so we all had Balatro.
Yeah.
Balatro. Let's get into our recommendations. So some of these we would call underrated games. Some of these are under discussed maybe, and for me, some are games that maybe you forgot came out this year but are still real good and don't forget. So let's kick things off. Joseph, do you want to kick us off with one of your picks?
Yeah, how about I just knock all three out in one fell swoop?
Okay.
Because first of all, Lower Light and the Laser Eyes, we've already talked about that. I think people should play it. It's fantastic. Hades 2, I haven't beat a full run of Hades 2, but what I will say is it is absolutely worth picking up, even though it's in early access. I've talked to a couple people, and people are like, I'll wait for the full release. Is it worth picking up now, or is a lot going to change? So far, from what I play, it pretty much feels like a complete game. Sure, there are some character models missing, but all the levels are fully designed and fleshed out. The enemy types are there. The boss fights are there. There's a bunch of weapons to mess around with. So I think this game is completely worth your $20 or whatever it is right now. Go pick up Hades 2. The other option that you can use your $20 or $30 on is another Crab's Treasure. I don't know how much that game costs, but it's fantastic. I beat the whole thing. If you're a fan of Souls-likes, if you're a fan of humor, like in their other game, Going
Under.
I want to say Going Deep.
Going Under.
I was gonna say Going Deep, and I'm like, that sounds way too sexual to have actually been the title. Going Under was fantastic, and they carry over the same humor and charm in that game. And I actually think the mechanics are relatively polished and whatnot. This will probably be on my top 5. Unless, I have a really strong second half of the year, because looking back on it, the game was really complete. It was a perfect length, and there was a lot of variability in the gameplay and the story and the comedy. So out of all these three, another Crab's Treasure is probably my number one recommendation so far this year.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Jacob, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to speed
Okay.
through mine too, all three of them. I'd first love to talk about an underrated title, Duck Detective: The Secret Salami.
Cool.
If you are a fan of the Golden Idol games, this is that, except you are playing a duck detective who has to discover who is causing problems at the bus station office. The writing is really good. It is a really fun little self-contained, like 2.5, 3 hour game. Yeah, writing is good. Voice acting is good. The duck detective himself, phenomenal, little fun, goofy performance, kind of like an Inspector Gadget, but with a very deep PI
Nice.
sort of voice. Has phenomenal performances from people like Brian David Gilbert, who plays one of the characters in the game. Yeah, it's and just look at the end of the game. I think some of the puzzles of find words to put in a Mad Lib style, stuff that you're used to in the Golden Idol games. You have to do a little bit of a have some leaps in logic to kind of figure out where the story's going, or who done it. But I think other than that, it's a really good, like, it's $10. It's worth your time. It's worth your money.
Awesome.
The second is one, Luke, that you and I have both been playing. It just came out a couple of days ago at the time of release of this episode. I'm going to say it wrong. Skim? Is that how you'd say it?
Shim?
I've been
Shim?
saying skim, like you're like
Skim?
you're throwing rocks.
Skimming.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah, but this one is a game where you play a little toad-looking frog dude who skips between shadows, and you get separated from the human that you know really well, and you have to find your way back to him in a series of levels where you're jumping between shadows. It's fun. It's simple. I think the art style's phenomenal, and the little musical interludes. Like, I think the music does a great job at like building this really compelling, beautiful package. I think it's maybe a little one note, but I think the one note is good. I don't know how you feel about it, Luke.
Yeah, I think that's all fair. I've really enjoyed my time with it thus far. I played the Steam Next Fest demo and really enjoyed myself, and I'd compare it to like it's not on this level, but I compare it to Florence a little bit, just in terms of like vibe, not so much narrative weight, but I think it's a very charming game. I enjoy the gameplay of it. I really like the music. And you mentioned the art style. It's made by a 2-person dev team, which I think it's a really solid puzzle game that I've enjoyed, and it's definitely one that's like cold rainy night or like a nice Sunday morning, like pour yourself a cup of coffee and play this one. And I haven't finished it yet, so I'm not sure exactly how long it is, but it feels like a nice, concise experience based on what I've played so far. So highly recommend.
Yeah, it's I also recommend. It's something that, like, if you like a short hike, or a game like Goose Game. Obviously it's not silly like Goose Game, but it has like the same sort of package.
It's just really
that you can
charming. It's just like,
expect.
oh, that's cute. It's just like a nice vibe. Shout out
Yeah.
to Pirate PR for hooking us up with codes for that one. We got to play it a little earlier.
Thank you, Pirate
which was
PR.
really fun.
Code received by from PR, so
Yes.
thank you. Last one is Mars After Midnight. This is a Playdate game. I think I'm the only person between the three of us with a Playdate. This is Lucas Pope's new thing. It is essentially cranked at alien club door bad. Soldier Boy would be mad at me. It is almost like Papers, Please, except instead of checking passports, you are at a club door and you are looking at aliens to see whether or not they fit the mold of the event that you're putting on. If they do, let them in. If not, tell them to go away. You get to add some tools to your arsenal eventually, where maybe you're taking an X-ray to see if they have a crack in their head, or you are honking a horn at them to see if they get scared. And it's just really charming. The art style for the 1-bit console is really phenomenal, and the music's good too for like a Playdate game. I think it is not a reason to buy a Playdate, but I think if you have a Playdate, you must absolutely play Mars After Midnight. And again, that one was code from Pop Agenda, so thank you for that code, Pop Agenda.
Very nice. All right, let me rapid fire my picks real quick. My third pick was Pacific Drive from Ironwood Studios. We did a whole review podcast on this one if you want to hear my full thoughts on it. But in terms of overall vibe, if we were going to give an award for best vibe of the year, I would give it to Pacific Drive, because between the weather, the indie music, the driving through the Pacific Northwest, and then the supernatural twist on the survival crafting genre, I think was really, really well done. And I think for me and people who really loved the game, it's really our shit, if that makes sense. And it's not a game for everybody, but I think it's a really special game. I think this will kind of be like Alan Wake 10 years from now, where it's like the cult classic of Pacific Drive, the cult classic of Alan Wake, if you will. Like, I think they'll be diehard fans of this one, and be cool to get a sequel, because I think they could really refine what's awesome about this game on a technical level, because the vibes and the narrative and just the style of the game, I think, are chef's kiss. So highly recommend if you haven't played that one. It's on PC and PlayStation. Next up was one that I played recently that was a pleasant surprise. Still Wakes the Deep, developed by the Chinese Room. For folks that are familiar with them, they worked on games like Dear Esther and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and Amnesia Machine for Pigs. So a lot of loosely horror narrative forward titles. And this is a really solid game. I played it in about 5 hours, but the premise is you are an electrician on an oil rig in the year 1975 off the coast of Scotland. And it's a really unique setting for a game. And I thought the narrative and the performances were all really compelling. And I enjoyed my time with it. It was just scary enough to keep it interesting, but not scary that I didn't have a good time with it. And it's short, sweet, and just a really, really nice time if you're looking for a solid narrative horror experience. And it's on Game Pass, so no excuse not to give it a try.
This looks sick, and
it's
and
really
you covered
good.
It and did a review on Lukewarm Games.
I did,
right?
Yeah. We did a full kind of more in-depth review if you want to hear my specific thoughts. But I played it on a whim after we got back from our camping trip a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh, it just came to Game Pass, why not try it? Ended up playing for like 3 hours because I was just really engaged, and the writing was surprisingly compelling, and yeah, just had a really nice time with it.
It gives me Soma vibes, and
yeah, if I were to pitch it to you, I would say it's very Soma vibes. I don't know if it
to play this.
I don't know if it hits those highs, but if you're just looking for a solid, it's a really solid 8 out of 10. You know, it's because the only negatives I would say are that there's no combat. It's similar to Amnesia in that you're evading, you're hiding, you're sneaking past creatures and things like that. The only negative is that it's not always clear when you're seen, because the environments are often really dark. So you'll get spotted in a time where you won't think you'll get spotted, or you won't get spotted at a time where it's like, I feel like I should be seen. I'm standing under the light right now, but the creature doesn't see me. But like, you know, suspend disbelief a little bit, because I think the vibe and the story and just the atmosphere, it's also really pretty. I think it's a really well done game in terms of the art direction as well. So Still Wakes the Deep from the Chinese Room on that one. It's also available on Steam if you're not an Xbox user, and the Epic Game Store as well. And then closing out my picks, I wanted to throw out Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. It's a well-known popular franchise. I'm not like pulling out an underrated gem, but it came out so early in the year that I feel like it has fallen off folks' radars. But incredible depth, some of the best mini games I've experienced in the series. So fun, so funny. The new setting of coming to Hawaii with the series for the first time, I think, was really, really fun. Had a blast with it. Highly recommend if you need another 100-hour RPG to play. It's a good one. Okay, and closing things out, let's talk about our top 3 backlog / still to come picks. Joseph, what do you got for us?
I'm still huffing on that copium. All right, Silk Song. We're getting it this year. I'm
Vaporware.
Playing it. I'll beat it by the end of the year. Absolutely. Mark my words. Play this clip back if it doesn't happen.
Pizza bet? You want to have a pizza bet?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
Absolutely
cool.
not do I want to do a pizza bet. But I'm hoping it's coming. I will be very happy at the end of the year if it has come. Like a Dragon. Luke just talked about it, but I'm going to go do research right now. I'm going to go to Hawaii, scope out the map. And then once I get back,
that'll be fun.
Another 100-hour game.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm holding off specifically for that reason.
That's cool. I dig it.
And then I'll sink another 100 hours. That'll be my fall 100-hour game that I get deep into. And I really want to talk about Astrobot, but Jacob has that on his list, so I'll talk about Pluggy Squire. We're starting to get a little preview. Skill Up did a preview, so I'm hoping maybe that seems like it's still coming out this year. But that just seems like one of those, hey, this could be a hit type game. This could be a fun little shocker in the fall. So we'll see. I hope it's fun. I hope we actually get it this year. But if we do, Plucky Squire, watch out.
That's awesome. All right, Jacob, kicking it over to you.
Yeah, Joseph said Astrobot, so I must now talk about Astrobot.
GPU.
Let's go.
It's going to be so good. I'm so excited. Honest to God, I think it is like at this point my most anticipated game of the fall, and I've already got it pre-ordered, and I'm excited just to do more Astrobot goodness because the last game, which was basically a pack-in and is still one of the best things on the PS5. So like, let's go deep into PlayStation lore and play some Astrobot. It's going to be sick. I'm very excited for that one.
Hell yeah.
One that came out today, or actually just when we're recording this, the reviews have been not as solid as I thought they were going to be, but this is Angerfoot from Free Lives and Devolver Digital. It is a first-person footer is what I've seen it being described as, where it's a shooter, but instead you're using your foot to kick down doors and kick enemies and shit. I'm still excited about it. I'm a fan of Hotline Miami. I saw and played the demo for Mullet Mad Jack, which also was super sick. Loved Neon White a little while ago. So first person, fast paced game, give it to me. If it has the Devolver stamp of approval, I'm in.
Hell yeah.
And then my last one is probably the opposite game to Angerfoot, which is 1000X Resist, which is getting a ton of buzz from
this game
folks.
is like all over. Everybody's talking about this one.
I'm shocked. They keep comparing it to other games like your Nier Automatas that have sort of a philosophical bent to them, where it's for all intents and purposes, I don't want to call it a visual novel, but it's like adventure game / visual novel, and that just speaks to me with some of the. For some reason, I'm getting like Neon Genesis Evangelion vibes. I know it is very, very different, but vibes are similar. Where I'm just like, okay, this is my shit. Let's plug in. It's a small team from Vancouver. I'm jacked to play it. I actually had bought it and told myself, you know what? I'm going to save myself, and I refunded it, and I'm going to buy it and play it when I'm ready because I got to be in the right headspace for it, and I need to get Rebirth off my plate before I even think about 1000X Resist.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You gotta pace yourself.
Actually, I started that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and
what do you think?
I'm a couple chapters in. I'm not sold yet.
Ooh.
I know that's going to be a crazy opinion, but so far, I don't know if I was just not in the right mood. All these 100-hour games, I'm playing it in the middle. I'm just like kind of going to sleep a couple times in some of the dialogue. So I don't think I've gotten deep into the craziness yet. So I'm still holding out, and there are a lot of cool things that they're dabbling with where I'm at. So I'm going to play it to the end and see how I like it. But I'm not like, oh crap, sleeper hit of the year so far. I haven't really seen anything that would say that. So we'll see.
Yeah, because my thing with it, Jacob, when you said visual novel, oh, it's my shit, I'm like, oh, wait, is it not for me then? Because I've been on board with just like the vibe and the style and people being excited about a narrative game. But when I hear visual novel, I'm like, I don't know. I've liked visual novels, but it's not an automatic yes for me.
Joseph, you've played it. It is not like a traditional visual novel, but it is very like text heavy, right?
It is a visual novel in all but name. Yeah, you're walking around, but you are walking around and then you talk to somebody, you're talking to them for like a minute. All right, in some cases. So I would say the gameplay adds almost nothing to the element. You're really just there for the story. So in pretty much, yeah, it's a visual novel.
We'll see. It's on my maybe list, but I'm glad folks are enjoying it. Sick.
Luke, what's on your absolutely list if that's on your maybe list?
My absolutely list. Let me tell you about a game called I Am Your Beast from Strange Scaffold.
Hell yeah.
Elevator pitch for this one, pretty straightforward for me. Neon White, but if the story was cool as fuck.
Love.
That's it.
Sold.
It's I loved the demo. I very much enjoyed their last game, El Paso Elsewhere, even though it's not technically their last game now because they keep releasing
I played Life Eater.
Life Eater, and then Click
Click
Holding is coming out later this year. They're cooking over there, the Strange Scaffold team.
They're cooking something, that's for sure.
Imer Beast, very cool. It's like a narrative style game where you're doing run based things, trying to kill enemies quickly. There's a time trial element. It's very fun. Number 2 on my list is Crow Country. I heard this one pitched on the Indie Council podcast as a Resident Evil style game without the combat. It looks really dope. I love the like 90s style pixel art, and they're making it really work for them, and I've heard nothing but wonderful things about that game, so that one's definitely a must play for me. Probably I'll play that one on an upcoming trip I have, because I've heard it runs quite well on Steam Deck. Nice. And then rounding out my trio, or sorry, Joseph, were you going to jump in on Crow Country?
No, I was just saying that's perfect, that it runs great on Steam Deck. I'm thinking about picking it up as well.
Yeah, I think Tim Geddes from Kind of Funny played it on Steam Deck, and he spoke very highly of it, so I'm excited for that one. Cool. And then Lorelei and the Laser Eyes was my third one, and after all of your praise, Jacob, definitely want to play it. Claire and I like a good puzzle game together, so getting the Notebook out seems like a nice like weekend date night for a couple weeks. Yeah. So definitely excited to play that one soon.
Turn down the lights, because we used to turn the lights off.
Oh, wow. You like set the mood. I love it.
We set the mood.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. Enjoy that.
Hell yeah. Any other honorable mentions, things to throw out? Good. There's other stuff I'm excited about, but those are kind of the big ones. What were you going to say?
Velgard is going to be a big one. Star Wars Outlaws is going to be a big one in the fall.
I want that game to hit so bad. I'm a little nervous, but I want to see how these previews are turning out, because I know a lot of press folks get to play it this week.
For my Obsidian sickos, Avowed is we're seeing previews of Avowed, so that game is coming out sometime this year.
Indiana Jones supposedly coming out this year.
I mean, allegedly. We'll see about that. See.
But there's a lot to be excited about. Well, thanks y'all for hanging out.
Can I throw a couple?
Yeah, please.
I just in the Steam Summer Sale, and I'd love to talk about maybe the games you bought in the Steam Summer Sale that fit this mold.
Sure.
But I bought Children of the Sun, which is that like Sniper Elite but make it psychedelic game that Devolver published. I got Yellow Taxi Go Vroom, which I'm very excited about, and Penny's Big Breakaway, which is the team the Sonic Mania team that made a 3D platformer. So that's the stuff that I bought in the Steam Summer Sale, and I didn't spend that much money, so I'm happy with myself.
How about you, Joseph? Did you pick anything up?
I was supposed to buy Cyberpunk again on the PC. And
because you have like the master computer now. That'd be a good one to put it through its paces.
But then I told myself, look, man, you still got to finish Elden Ring. You got all these other indie games that need your time and love. So I said, not yet. And now it's back at full price. And I'm like,
it's always back down to 50% off, though, every Steam sale. So I think you'll be chilling.
Okay.
If you want to pick it up in October, it's our next Steam sale, right?
Yeah. I'll be ready.
Right on.
I didn't buy anything, so.
I didn't buy anything either, and I'm very proud of myself. I was very tempted. I wanted to get Crow Country. I wanted to get Lorelei. Also wanted to get, have you guys heard of Mini Shoot Adventures?
Yeah.
You're familiar with this? That looks like my shit. What? It's like a little spaceship top-down twin-stick shooter, but it's a Zelda-style adventure. Yeah. Looks really cool.
Whoa.
Sounds very fun. Whoa. To quote Dan Reichert, it's a very dewy game, according to him, but sometimes you need a dewy game in the mix.
Who is Dewey?
Dewey as in like
D-O-E-R.
I do something, like as opposed to on the Firescape podcast that Dan hosts, they have the term talkie, as in a game where there's a lot of dialogue, speech, reading, versus Dewey as in I'm doing the action, playing the game ass video game. So Mini Shoot Adventures, according to them, is a very Dewey game.
Okay.
Hell yeah. All right, listeners, let us know in the comments what you're playing the rest of this year, because there's a lot of good stuff. Anything to plug, y'all? Jacob, you have some things coming up at an event that we will all be at?
we're all going to be at PAX West, baby, and it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to be friends in real life. If you are there on Friday, August 30th at 9 p.m. in the Kalopalik Theater, Video Game Trivia is coming back. We've got a fab panel of folks. So if you've got your PAX badge, check us out there. But if you don't have a PAX badge, you can also play Video Game Trivia in a bar in Seattle, Washington. That'll be the day before PAX, so PAX Day 0, Thursday, August 29th at 7:30 p.m. We'll be at Hop Vine Pub on 15th. Free entry and cool prizes. So you can follow all that stuff that I'm doing on at Jacob McCourt on Twitter. That's probably the best place.
Hell yeah. Love it. We'll be there. You should too. Joseph, anything to plug? Go to the order.
Go listen to the Player Podcast, Player Video Game Podcast. And I'm on hiatus for Can't Pause because I'm just playing Elden Ring and then I'm going to Hawaii.
Yeah.
But then I'll be back and I'll play a lot of indie games and talk about them.
Love to see it. All right, y'all. I think that brings us to a close. We're setting our status to away until next time. But before that, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things for us. If you could follow us on Twitter at Crossplay Convos, send this podcast to a friend because that's how people hear about podcasts, and give us a review on your podcast platform of choice because it really, really does help. And with that, 2024 is just getting started. Go play some games.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.